Welcome to a place where perfect marriages crack, family loyalty shatters, and silence speaks louder than screams. This isn't about fairy tales or easy endings. This channel dives into the moments when weddings are canceled without explanation, when legal notes replace love, and when trust is quietly turned into a weapon. Here, silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Every story uncovers marriages built on illusion, husbands hiding financial gains behind affection, and families who choose control over truth. These are stories where betrayal is calculated, secrets are layered, and revenge doesn't come through chaos, but through patience and undeniable truth. If you've ever felt blindsided, underestimated, or erased from your own story, you're not alone here. Every episode peels back the mask to expose what really happens behind closed doors and how the truth always finds a way to strike back when it's least expected. The morning the wedding disappeared, there was no argument, no raised voices, not even a knock on the door. Just a single sheet of paper waiting on the kitchen counter, positioned carefully like it had been measured for impact. The words were formal, almost sterile, completely detached from the life they were about to erase. Weddings off. Expect a call from my lawyer. No explanation, no apology, no signature that felt familiar anymore. Everything about it felt rehearsed. The flowers were already paid for. The dress hung untouched in the closet. Invitations had been mailed weeks ago, promising a future that now felt like a lie everyone else knew about before I did. The coldness of the message hurt more than the cancellation itself. It wasn't written in anger or fear, it was written with certainty. Someone had planned this moment long before that paper ever touched the counter. What stung most was the silence that followed. Phones stayed quiet. Messages went unanswered. The family that once insisted on togetherness suddenly spoke only through legal language. That was when it became clear this wasn't a decision made overnight. It was a strategy. And at the center of it all stood the man who was supposed to be building a life beside me. The signs had been there. Late nights explained away his work, sudden privacy around phone calls, financial conversations that always ended too quickly. Trust made it easy to ignore them. Love made it easier to believe excuses. But that note changed everything. It reframed every memory, every promise, every moment of reassurance into something darker. Hours later, fragments of truth started to surface. Accounts had been quietly rearranged, documents shifted, conversations held behind closed doors. The wedding wasn't canceled because of doubt. It was canceled because the exit had already been secured. The family wasn't protecting anyone. They were protecting assets, reputations, and secrets tied directly to the husband they had chosen long before choosing me. The betrayal wasn't loud. It was methodical. There was no confrontation that day, no pleading, no dramatic scene, just the slow realization that love had been replaced with legal protection and commitment had been traded for convenience. The celebration was never meant to happen. It was only a distraction while plans were finalized elsewhere. That note wasn't an ending. It was a warning that the truth was already moving faster than they expected. Silence followed the note, and that silence became louder than any argument could have been. No calls were returned, no explanations offered. The absence of conflict wasn't accidental, it was strategic. Refusing to react felt unnatural at first, but restraint quickly turned into clarity. People who expect chaos grow careless when it never comes. Behind closed doors, whispers replaced honesty. Conversations stopped when footsteps approached. Phones were turned face down. The husband moved through the house with rehearsed calm, as if nothing had changed, as if the future hadn't just been erased by legal ink. That calm was the first crack. It didn't belong to someone blindsided. It belonged to someone relieved. Threats arrived disguised as concern. A lawyer's voicemail referenced mutual understanding and best interests, words that sounded cooperative but carried sharp edges. Every sentence hinted at consequences if silence broke the wrong way. That was when the pattern emerged. This wasn't about love ending, it was about control staying intact. Documents began to tell their own story. Paper trails never lie, they just wait. A business registered under a distant relative, a shared account emptied in small, careful amounts. Property discussions held months earlier suddenly made sense. Even the timing of the canceled wedding aligned perfectly with deadlines hidden in fine print. The most unsettling truth surfaced quietly. The escape plan had been written long before vows were ever discussed. The husband hadn't been trapped or confused, he had been calculating. While promises were made across dinner tables, signatures were being collected elsewhere. While affection was performed, exits were secured. Family involvement ran deeper than expected. Advice had been given, options weighed, silence enforced. The note on the counter wasn't a reaction, it was the final step of a coordinated move. Everyone knew their role, everyone except the person meant to lose the most. Still, no confrontation came. Letting them believe their plan was working felt safer. Silence invited mistakes. It encouraged overconfidence. The husband began slipping, careless messages, rushed calls, documents left where they shouldn't have been. The mask cracked, and what showed through wasn't guilt, but fear of being discovered. That fear confirmed everything. The power never came from arguing or begging for answers. It came from watching, listening, and letting the truth reveal itself piece by piece. While they believed control had shifted, evidence stacked quietly, waiting for the right moment to speak. And when silence finally breaks, it won't be to defend love, it will be to expose the conspiracy that mistook patience for weakness. The marriage always looks flawless from the outside. Compliments came easily, admiration followed everywhere, and the story presented to others felt polished and convincing. Inside that picture, however, small distortions had begun to appear, subtle enough to ignore, sharp enough to wound. Financial decisions were framed as protection, never control. Emotional distance was explained as stress, never secrecy. Trust was expected, never returned. Money became the first quiet weapon. Accounts were simplified for convenience, signatures guided with reassuring smiles, questions dismissed as unnecessary worry. Every agreement sounded reasonable in the moment. That was the brilliance of it. Manipulation rarely announces itself. It hides behind concern. Slowly, access narrowed, awareness blurred, independence softened into dependence without ever feeling forced. Affection followed the same pattern. Praise arrived when compliance did. Silence followed hesitation. Disapproval was never spoken aloud, just implied through withdrawal. Over time, instincts learned to self-correct, to avoid conflicts before it formed. That wasn't partnership, it was conditioning. And it worked because it was wrapped in love. The family's sudden decision to end everything didn't come from nowhere. It snapped the illusion clean in half. Conversations replayed themselves with new meaning. Late-night calls, once dismissed as business, revealed a different purpose. Financial records aligned too neatly with family timelines. Advice had been shared, plans coordinated. The marriage hadn't been protected by the family, it had been used. The most devastating discovery wasn't infidelity or greed alone, it was intention. The realization that commitment had been performative while preparation happened elsewhere. Insurance policies adjusted, property discussions steered, exit routes drafted quietly while vows were spoken confidently. The perfect relationship was never meant to last, it was meant to hold things together just long enough. Every secret tied back to the same source. The husband wasn't reacting to circumstances, he was managing outcomes. The family didn't intervene out of concern, they acted to preserve what benefited them most. That note canceling the wedding wasn't impulsive or emotional. It was the final move of a long, disciplined game. Anger came late, but clarity arrived first. Grief followed, heavy and real, but it no longer carried confusion. The illusion dissolved completely, leaving facts behind. Financial manipulation replaced generosity. Emotional control replaced care. Love replaced with leverage. What was once admired as perfect had only ever been profitable. And now that the illusion is gone, nothing stands between the truth and its consequences. Walking away without a fight was never weakness, it was strategy disguised as surrender. Abandonment hurt, but reacting would have given exactly what was expected: noise, emotion, something to twist into justification. Instead, patience took control. Every unanswered message and unreturned call created space for observation, and in that space, lies began to unravel on their own. Truth doesn't rush, it waits. The husband believed the absence of confrontation meant success. Confidence grew careless, passwords stayed saved, conversations overlapped. A second phone appeared, then disappeared too slowly. Financial records told stories that words never could. Payments routed through shell accounts, shared funds redirected under the excuse of temporary adjustments, and signatures obtained through emotional pressure rather than consent. Lawyers thrive on confusion, but facts don't bend. Every document left behind contradicted the narrative being pushed. Timelines exposed coordination between family members. Advice, once framed as concern, revealed itself as instruction. The legal threats lost their power the moment evidence replaced assumption. Heartbreak sharpened focus. Grief clarified memory. Moments once dismissed as insignificant returned with meaning. The insistence on controlling finances, the subtle discouragement from independent decisions, the way affection was used to reward silence. None of it was accidental. It was design. The most devastating secret wasn't the money or the manipulation. It was discovering how confidently the husband believed there would be no consequences. The exit plan assumed obedience, shame, and quiet disappearance. That assumption became the flaw. Patience turned abandonment into leverage. While they prepared for resistance, cooperation appeared instead. While they expected chaos, documentation grew. Truth doesn't need volume, it only needs timing. The legal advantage shifted not through argument, but through precision. Every claim met with proof. Every threat met with calm certainty. When the moment arrived, it arrived cleanly. Contracts were challenged, assets were frozen, narratives collapsed under their own contradictions. The lawyer's tone changed, confidence drained from voices that once sounded untouchable. What couldn't be undone wasn't the wedding, it was the exposure. The husband finally saw what had been underestimated. Silence had not erased the past, it had preserved it intact, ready to be revealed without distortion. Revenge didn't come through destruction, but through undeniable clarity. Truth dismantled every escape route carefully built behind closed doors. No shouting ever happened, no public breakdowns, just facts placed exactly where they belonged, leaving no room for denial. And when everything was finally laid bare, the only thing left standing was the truth they never thought would speak. If this story made you pause, question, or see the signs you once ignored, then you already understand the power of truth. These stories don't end with noise, they end with clarity. If you want more real stories of hidden betrayals, quiet revenge, and marriages that weren't what they seemed, make sure to like this video. Your support tells this channel to keep exposing the secrets others try to bury. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story where patience wins and truth has the final word. Until next time, remember, silence isn't the end of the story. It's where the real one begins.